morning, everyone, and welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Susanne. I'm here in our sanctuary at 310 Danforth, and I have your announcements for the coming weeks. The last Sunday of every month, Fred, Phyllis, and I, you heard Fred and Phyllis just singing our gathering music, host morning chant before the service and singing meditation in the evening. All are welcome to join us. For now, we are still hosting on Zoom, but hope to resume very soon to singing with you in person. Spirit Choir is taking a break in July, but is finishing a recording project with the DMC in June. Wednesdays, the Journey to Awakening Conscious Movement classes continue from 10:15 to 11:30 a.m. This week is the last class before summer. So if you'd like to join, make sure to contact Phyllis. What goes on is Club Sandwich every Wednesday and Thursday. Help feed hungry locals by making any amount of sandwiches and dropping them at MCC. That's at Simpson and Logan. This is supported by the C Committee. If you want more information, you can contact me at music@nuuc.ca. Every Sunday morning, our children and caregivers are welcome to join the program from 9 to 9:30 a.m. with Zach here in our regular Sunday Zoom space. Coffee with our minister continues Monday mornings at 10 a.m. Talk about theology, defunding the police, or helping out the congregation. The address will be sent in Monday's announcements. The eighth principle. The CUC is asking congregations to vote on the eighth principle in November at a special meeting. We begin our congregational conversation about the eighth principle on Tuesday, July the 6th at 7 p.m. here in our regular service Zoom space. Information about the eighth principle has been sent to you to read in advance of that meeting. All are welcome and encouraged to attend. Join our UU Summer Service Travel Adventure. This summer, UU congregations in Southern Ontario have teamed up to share Sunday services with one another. No fossil fuels are required to sit next to distant UU neighbors in 6 virtual services over the next 3 months. Instead of holding our own Sunday morning service, we'll stream into services with Peterborough, Grand River, Mississauga, and Kingston. We'll also do 2 of our own services where those congregations will be joining us. It's a great way to meet our neighbors and experience the distinct and wonderful ways we express our UUism and create spiritual community together. Please join us. Chair and share alike. We have 55 chairs donated by congregants plus 50 chairs matched. You can see them behind me lined up at the back of our sanctuary. Only 65 remain to be purchased. Go to the website and you can have a small plaque put on the back of the chair with up to 90 characters. It costs $100. Commemorate a wonderful historical person or a loved one. There's more info on our website. Do you have an old instrument just lying around? Do you wish those old instruments could be played more often? Do you need more space in your house? Consider donating your old instruments to Nuke's Music Instrument Learning Library. We're starting a new program where we take in old instruments and we'll lend them out on a monthly schedule to interested musical learners who may not have the means to purchase them themselves. You can email Zach to make a donation or more information. Together in music, together in spirit, together in love. In honor of National Indigenous Peoples Day, Neighborhood is hosting a watch party of Jonathan Rudin's talk on the overrepresentation of Indigenous people in the Canadian prison system. This talk was previously screened by the DMC. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. here in this Zoom space. All are welcome to attend. And next Sunday, our theme is Pride, nourishing spirituality within the queer community. Our message of inspiration will be provided by Margaret Evans, the manager of spiritual and religious care, and music provided by Susanne and Friends.
Welcome to today's Unitarian Universalist Congregation service on Zoom and on YouTube. We welcome you here as we work to come closer emotionally and spiritually in times when we need to stay physically apart. My name is Peter Marmorek, and I'm your service leader this morning from home or from Unicamp, if you believe my background. Our musical director, Susanne Maziarz, is in our new sanctuary, and our minister, the Reverend Wayne Walder, is on sabbatical. Zach Getchell facilitates our Sunday Child and Caregiver program and will share a time for all ages from home. I'm hugely pleased to have as our guest speaker, Abdul-Rehman Malik, whom I've known and worked with for the past 20 years. We also have Catherine Campbell doing the Zoom web hosting duties. And it is with great joy and relief that I introduce you to Mike Kozowski, who is neighborhood's newly hired Zoom tech person, who will be stepping into our world through cut and paste today. Thank you to all of them. Some Zoom etiquette. Just remember to stay muted, keep chat open for readings and lyrics, and try to refrain from sending chat messages addressed to everyone during service. This service is being recorded for the public, both on YouTube and on our new website. Joys and concerns or similar personal moments will be edited out. If you have privacy concerns, you can turn off your camera so you're not seen and rename yourself so no one knows you're here. It's hard to hold that sense of the shared sacredness of our time together over Zoom. The sacred is timeless. Zoom means moving fast. Yet here we are, and I'm grateful to share this time with you. So let's share fully. Turn off all the other technologies that might distract or pull you out of this space and be present. Together, we enter sacred space. Our service begins now. As we light our chalice, you may want to light yours, but either way, please join our choir as we sing.
We light this chalice to remember, to light the fire within our own hearts.
And now for our prelude, listen to the voices. Susanne, can you introduce it?
Good morning, everyone. We're celebrating National Indigenous Peoples Day today, and our Indigenous peoples have spoken in the 94 recommendations. We've learned what is needed for reconciliation, and they've told the truth. This song encourages us to listen to those voices. Listen to the voices of the First Nations. Ooh. Listen to the voices of the First Nations, calling out the messages of the earth and sky, telling us what we need to know in order to survive. Listen to the voices of the First Nations. Ooh. Listen to the voices of the old women. Ooh. Listen to the voices of the old women.
calling out the messages of the moon and sea, telling us what we need to know in order to be free. Listen to the voices of the old women. Ooh. Listen to the voices of the young children. Ooh. Listen to the voices of the young children, calling out the messages of the heart and soul, telling us what we used to know before the lies were told. Listen to the voices of the young children. Ooh. Listen to the voices of the young children. Ooh. Listen to the voices of the old women. Ooh. Listen to the voices of the First Nations. Listen to the voices of the living.
Good morning and welcome to Neighborhood. Our mission here is to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of the world. Today, our theme is a beautiful urgency, mercy, and the pandemic aftertimes. When Abdul sent me this, I confess I was taken aback. I thought, here we are in a time when a family is run down in London for being Muslim, in a time when 215 children's graves in Kamloops confirm that what we heard about residential schools from those who survived them is terribly true. How do we reach for mercy? How is that possible? How do we forgive? And that seeming impossibility is why it's so important and so urgent. Here I sit on the traditional lands and territories of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Mississauga, and the Haudenosaunee nations. I'm profoundly grateful to these nations and peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and all our relations. I work to honor those teachings in light of what has been done to those nations. But today, on National Aboriginal Day, I have to ask, where does mercy come into me as a settler? But then I remember, mercy is never earned or deserved. If mercy were deserved, it would be justice. But I have to start by listening. As the song says, listen to the voices of the First Nations calling out the messages. As I thought further, I realized how much we all need to have, mercy on ourselves. Here we are, and we took 1,000 different paths to get here, and this is where we start together as we do shared action. If we cannot be merciful to ourselves, we will be paralyzed and unable to do any good for anyone. The past is prologue, as Shakespeare said. We start from zero, over and over, by mercifully forgiving ourselves and learning from the past's mistakes, by listening to the voices. If you are visiting us for the first time, we welcome you. Please stay around after service. If you don't go to a breakout room, Susanne or Zach will be in the main room to answer any questions you might have about who we are and what we do. If you do go to a breakout room, Abdul has promised to be in one of them, and it could be yours. I've been thinking about mercy, and I remembered a story attributed to Margaret Mead, the anthropologist. She was asked what artifact indicated that Homo sapiens had become civilized. The questioner said they expected to hear about an arrowhead, a pot, or art on a cave wall. But Mead said it was a broken human femur that had healed. She said, for that to have happened, someone had to have cared for the person with the broken leg for quite a long time. That was the indication of civilization. This has stuck with me. Mercy is the hallmark of civilization. I tried to remember a time when I'd been merciful, and I thought of a time 25 years ago when I was teaching gifted English. I was the head of the gifted program at our school, and one of my tasks at the end of the year was to decide who stayed in the program, who got moved back to the regular program so as to make way for others. One of my gifted students was a grade 9 girl who I'll call Maureen. She was very bright, and as the year went on, she got involved not only with marijuana, but with cocaine and an older crowd who may not have had her best interests in mind. She was getting 60s in her classes. Average in the gifted was in the 85 to 90 range. And normally that would be an absolute red flag to put her back in the regular program. But I kept her in the gifted program because it was clear that the problem was not her ability, and that being demoted would have alienated her further from school at a point when she was barely hanging on. The next year she did better, and since then she's graduated from York, become the editor of a magazine whose name most of us would recognize, and done really well. She once asked me why I'd kept her in the program, and said it had made a real difference knowing someone believed in her at a dark moment. Mercy transcends justice and sometimes transforms both the giver and the receiver. Abdul will take us deeper into these thoughts. Traditionally, at this time in the service, we would greet our neighbors. And so we still do, but differently, by unmuting our devices, switching to gallery view, and offering a greeting to those around you. We'll sound a chime to end, at which point, please remute yourselves. But now, take a moment to greet your neighbors around you.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Suzanne.
Hi, Gordon. Hi.
Hello, Zachary.
Hi,
everybody. Susan.
Hi, Kim.
Thank you for the letter.
Hi, hello. Hi, Janet. Oh, David, is that you?
Ellison.
Yeah.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hello, Barbara. Veronica, nice to meet you. Hello, Hi, Fred.
David.
Gail, nice to see you. Good morning, Mara.
David.
Now I invite you to join me in reading our opening words, which will be appearing on the screen. If you're on a phone and don't know the words, just listen to my reading. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here. A space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life. A life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. And now, as we hold this place open to grace and insight, please join Susanne for our opening song. Susanne?
Yes, good morning. Let me just switch to gallery view so I can see all of you instead of just me. There we go. This week, the UUA is hosting their GA. I'm looking forward to attending some events and perhaps being able to view their big service on Sunday. But for this morning's song, we're going to share one of the videos that they made for last year's GA. We saw one of those videos at Yvette's lay chaplaincy service in May, We Are by Isai Barnwell. And today we're going to sing Tomorrow. I'm going to teach it to you so you're able to sing along with the video if you choose, or just enjoy listening to them sing. So there's a mantra that goes throughout the whole song. There will be better days. 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 And you'll hear that throughout. And the main tune sounds like this. I'll sing a phrase, you repeat after me. So, let the wave wash over me. Let's try that. Let the wave wash over me. Second phrase, my turn. Let the wave wash over me. Let's do it together. Let the wave wash over me. Next phrase. I am already under. I am already under. Last line, same as the first. Let the wave wash over me. Let's try it once through all together, just to get comfy. Let the wave wash over me. Let the wave wash over me. I am already under. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. Enjoy.
There will be better days. 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 Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. I am already there will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. I am better days. be better days. There will 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 be better days.
And now, all the young and young at heart, please come up and get close to the screen because Zach has something to share with us. Zach, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. I want to start today off by thanking Abdul-Rehman Malik for joining us this morning. Our theme today is mercy. We're going to be talking about mercy. Well, what is mercy? Mercy is defined as compassion or forgiveness shown towards someone who it is within one's power to punish or harm. Now, in honor of National Indigenous Day, I wanted us to listen to a voice from a First Nation. So I found a story about this idea of mercy, though the word mercy is never used. The story is called Little Spirit, and it is told by Wilfred Buck, a member of the Opaskwayak Cree Nation on the Saskatchewan River. It's a story about a little boy who has a hard life and the moon who shows him mercy. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
I heard a long time ago, I heard a story about the little boy on the moon. And I heard other stories about the man on the moon, about the dancing rabbit on the moon. There's all kinds of stories about the moon, of course, because every culture on the face of the earth looked up at night and saw the moon. And so every culture have their own stories about the moon. So our people say that there's a little boy on the moon with 2 pails of water. He's standing up there. We call him Tagapis. And Tagapis is a contraction of the phrase Atsakapasis, which means little spirit. And so Tagapis is standing on the moon with 2 pails of water. And Tagapis tells a story about how we should be treating people less fortunate than ourselves. How we should be treating homeless people. How we should be treating orphaned people, how we should be treating anybody that comes into your house or into your place of dwelling, that this is how they should be treated. You should treat them with kindness. You should treat them with exception. You should try to feed them and whatever, and so on and so forth. And so anyways, the story about Tagapis is a Tagapis was a little boy, and at some point during his life, something had happened to his family, and his family died, and he was the only one left. So in this certain village, he was the only one left. He was an orphan, and so these people decided to take him in. So they took Tagapis in, but they didn't treat him good. He was sent to do sort of like a Cinderella story. He was told to do all the crappy work nobody else wanted to do, and he was basically told, you got to listen or we're going to throw you out. And so everything, he was given all the crappy jobs to do. And one night in the wintertime, in the middle of the night, he was told he had to go get water at the lake. He had to take, because at the lake there was a hole, but it was covered up so it wouldn't freeze up too hard. So he would go out there and he uncover the hole and get water. So one night he was doing that, and it was particularly cold, and there was a full moon. So he was standing out there with 2 pails of water, and it was cold, and he was crying, and he was looking up at Grandmother Moon, telling her how cold he was, how scared he was, how lonely he was, how hungry he was, and how unloved he felt. And so Grandmother Moon felt sorry for him, so she took him up to live with her, so he could stay with her throughout the rest of the time. And then she put him on the moon just to remind us that how we should be treating people, that we shouldn't put our needs, our wants first and foremost, and that we should think about others. And so that's the story of Tagapis. He's standing in the sky.
This is a special time in our service when we invite you to share a joy or a concern in your life. If you open your reactions tab at the bottom of the main window and raise a virtual hand, we'll know you have a joy or a concern. If you're here on a phone without a screen, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. To speak, you have to unmute your device, and to be seen, you need to have your camera on. Once you have spoken, please remute your device. Please respect the sacredness of the ritual and refrain from making announcements and telling stories. This is a cherished time in our community that brings us closer in times that are separating us. I'll start by expressing gratitude for all the volunteer efforts, seen and unseen, that help our community to hold together. I light a candle for all those who are working to fight hatred in our community, whether it's through vigils, political actions, or working towards a Unitarian eighth principle. I offer gratitude to all those who have worked to reduce the COVID numbers, starting with frontline workers, but including all those who have arranged and gotten their vaccinations or who simply wear a mask when they're around others. Our lives are safer because of your actions. The day before National Aboriginal Day, I light a candle to honor our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. I am open and listening to their voices so I can learn what I need to know to be an ally. In that case, I light a final candle for all the joys and concerns that remain unspoken in our hearts. And now I ask Fred to lead us in meditation. Fred?
So lately we've been talking a lot about mercy and compassion. Mercy is today, the compassion was last week. Personally, I see these as the same, two sides of the same coin. So let's do a breathing practice. We'll start by breathing through our nose. This is these are called the element breaths. But as we do it, let's breathe in mercy and breathe out compassion. It's been my experience that if you focus on this, you start this flow of mercy and compassion that just flows through you. So mercy in, compassion out. And as we breathe in and out our nose, our only, on the in-breath, draw energy from the earth up your spine to your heart, as drawing mercy in and then exhaling through your nose and letting the compassion come out back into the earth. So we're in and out of our nose, mercy in, and compassion out. Good breath if you want to feel grounded. Now we switch our breathing to a water breath. So we're in the nose and out the mouth like you're blowing through a straw. And this time, as you inhale, draw that mercy right up to your crown, top of your head. And as you exhale, feel it like a fountain of water coming out your crown and falling down over your body. So that's in the nose, up to the crown, and out your mouth. Mercy in, compassion out. Now the fire breath is opposite to that. You breathe in your mouth and out your nose. And as you breathe in, gather mercy into your solar plexus. So that's the area just below your rib cage and from every direction. And then just as you're about to switch to the exhalation, you draw all that energy up to your heart and breathe out through your nose and breathe out compassion from your heart. So in the mouth, the solar plexus, brought up to your heart and radiate like a sun. You may feel a little warmer with this breath. Now the air breath is in and out the mouth. And with this breath, we're drawing mercy, energy down into our crown center on the inhalation, down to our heart, and then exhaling back out our crown into the cosmos. Drawing mercy from space. And finally, the ether breath. For ether, I just leave my mouth and my nose open, very subtle breath. And I like to feel like I'm absorbing energy through my skin. So very subtle breath. It's like you're feeling your being is breathing through the skin. Breathing in mercy and out compassion. Now to finish, we do a bit of the earth breath, so breathing in and out your nose. So help ground us after that practice. Amen. Thank you very much.
Take a few moments to bring yourself back. Abdul-Rehman Malik is an award-winning journalist, educator, and organizer. Currently lecturer and associate research scholar in Islamic studies at Yale Divinity School, He also serves as the program coordinator at Yale University's Council on Middle East Studies, where he's responsible for developing curricula and partnerships with public schools to promote better cultural, language, and religious literacy about the Middle East to educators and students. Abdul-Rehman also serves as the director of the Muslim Leadership Lab, an innovative student leadership program being incubated at the Dwight Hall Center of Social Justice at Yale. A veteran of BBC Radio, he's the host of This Being Human, a delightful podcast currently exploring the kaleidoscope of Muslim experience, commissioned by and available at the Aga Khan Museum. Abdul and I met in 2001 through mutual friends. We were teaching at different schools in the Peel Board, and we came together after 9/11 to fight Islamophobia. One memory I'd like to share is having Abdul at our house for dinner with Diana Meredith and our dear friend Amy Gottlieb. I looked around the table and realized that Amy had been born in New York, Diana in Ireland, and myself in England. Abdul was the only one of us who was Canadian born, Don Mills, in fact. So I asked him if he was concerned with all these immigrants coming in and changing Canada. But he was as merciful to us then as he's always been, and it's a great joy to share him with you today. Abdul.
Thank you very much, Peter. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The beautiful words that Fred began us with this morning in the name of the Creator, most merciful, most compassionate. The one who does not thank people is not thankful to God. I try to remind myself of this advice from the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay, let's wait for Abdul to resume himself. And while we do, we'll do the offering. In these times of isolation, let's not forget that this congregation is a living entity, and like all living things, it must have nature and sustenance. If you contribute to us by pre-authorized withdrawals, we thank you. By contributing to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. We can't pass the basket as we once did, but for those who make contributions to the basket each week, please consider writing a check or making an e-transfer, which is the most cost-effective way to give. A link will be appearing in your chat window now, and all you need to do is click on it, and it takes you to our donation page. We will now pause, and Susanne will play.
How far can reach a smile? How high a helping hand can lift? How far is far enough to give? If we then think our small amount of help would not go far, and so don't give, would we still live?
Thank you, Susanne. I see that Abdul is back, and we'll go and try for a second take. Abdul, back to you.
Thank you so much. I want to just confirm that you can hear me, Peter, and everyone else.
Yes.
I'm now on my phone. The internet gremlins have clearly gotten to us this morning. I'm going to blame patriarchy and white supremacy for this one.
Always a safe bet.
Oh, Peter, I will begin again, and this time, God willing, we'll be able to stay with you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate. It's said that the one who does not thank people is not thankful to God. I try to remind myself of this advice from the Prophet Muhammad as often as I can. We are called, of course, to show gratitude to the Creator, but the Creator doesn't benefit from our thanks. I am thankful to God because in that act of giving thanks, I acknowledge my reliance on God for the gifts, opportunities, and privileges that I have been given. In giving thanks to one another, though, I acknowledge that every person around me is a means by which goodness, compassion, and care is brought into the world. We together are a means by which the divine chooses to manifest divine attributes in the world. So I want to begin today with gratitude. Gratitude to my friend and teacher, Peter Marmorek, for generously inviting me into this blessed and most sacred space. Gratitude to all of you who have welcomed me and welcomed all of us here this morning to join in fraternity and community. Gratitude to those who have and will offer words and songs of peace and praise. Gratitude to those who facilitate this space of prayer for your community week in and week out. Whether in person or virtual, these weekly gatherings no doubt offer a refuge from the unsettled world we inhabit and the extraordinary times we live in. I'm honored to be with you today to offer some reflections that I hope will speak to our place in this world and our calling in these times. The pandemic has altered the world forever. We know the ways it has. It's also altered the way we see the world. We wear masks over our faces, present our arms to be vaccinated, maintain safe distances from each other, but we can no longer mask the inequalities around us as we tried to do in the before times. The sickness is laid bare, the exploitation of working people, the denial of universal health care, unsafe labor conditions, and the absurd concentration of wealth in the hands of the few, systemic white supremacy, and systemic white supremacy, anti-Black racism can never be disguised again. Hatred and systemic oppression against Indigenous people has never been hidden and can never be hid again. The pandemic was a revelation that forced us to declaim the fault lines that cut across communities and the societies that we live in. We sit on the cusp of the aftertimes. I say cusp because for many of our human siblings, the clear and present danger and scourge of the pandemic will remain a part of their lives for many years to come, with the vaccine becoming another signpost of privilege and the systems of underdevelopment which perpetuate it. As we emerge into these aftertimes, we find the world as broken as ever. And these last few weeks have heightened that for us, as Peter reminded us so poignantly at the top of this service. Hundreds of graves are found on the sites of residential schools, the ground zero for the cultural genocide and systemic killing and erasure of Indigenous peoples, particularly Indigenous children. A Muslim family in London, Ontario was murdered while out on their evening stroll. The murder is premeditated, calculated, and planned. The world watches Palestinians being forced from their homes as schools, hospitals, and newsrooms on occupied land are bombed. Juneteenth may now be a federal holiday here in the United States, but some symbolic wins cannot obscure the ongoing daily violence that is directed at Black people by the carceral state and by the police. I find myself returning to a particular passage of Revelation. The Quran says, "You who believe, seek help through steadfastness and prayer, for God is with the steadfast. We shall certainly test you with fear and hunger and loss of property, lives, and crops, but give good news to those who are steadfast, those who say when afflicted with a calamity, we belong to God, and to God we shall return. These will be given blessings and mercy from their Lord, and it is they who are rightly guided." There it is. That link, that scripture leads me back to time and time again, that connection between being steadfast and God's mercy. But what does it mean to be steadfast? Is it to be long-suffering, effacing, and without agency? The Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, said that the merciful ones are shown mercy by the most merciful. Have mercy upon those who are on the earth, and the one who is in the sky will have mercy upon you. The Prophet Muhammad is reminding me that the path of the steadfast is the path of deepening mercy. To connect to the most merciful, one must not only learn, but dedicate oneself to service. Faith isn't an abstraction. Mercy isn't just a concept. It's a difficult path. It's a vigilant practice. And as the saying from the Prophet reminds us, our so-called vertical connection with the merciful Creator is only as strong as our connection to creation. Writer Karen Armstrong was asked why she chose to dedicate her latter days to what she has called the Charter of Compassion, a document I'm sure most, if not all of you, are familiar with. A covenant that she and others have promoted to encourage people to always be guided in word and deed by the principle of treating others how we ourselves deserve to be treated. Her answer is instructive. She didn't choose compassion because it was easy, but because in the face of anger, injustice, pain, trauma, oppression, it is the hardest thing to do. Some might even suggest impossible. And this brings us to Peter's poignant question. How do we reach for mercy as we all feel anger? How do we reach for mercy in a time that we feel anger, frustration, and outrage at what is happening around us? How do we even consider forgiveness when we can see in the world a profound absence of justice? For me, the answer begins with the name. I was born in 1975. My parents, fairly new immigrants to Canada, far from their own families, struggling to start a new life in a new place, would say that I, their first child, was also born in extraordinary times. Aren't we all? My parents, well-read and politically active, were global souls, and they saw a world in crisis. The mid-70s, as some of you almost certainly remember, was a time of deepening economic recession as the infamous OPEC oil crisis shook global markets. The Vietnam War was entering its deadly endgame. The threat of war between India and my parents' homeland of Pakistan was imminent. The murder of Palestinian refugees in Lebanon triggered a civil conflict that would last decades. And closer to home, the promise of the freedom movement in the United States seemed to be receding. Indigenous rights in this land known as Canada were almost completely ignored. And in our family, when a newborn is named, the child's grandparents are often consulted and their advice holds great weight. But the times held greater weight. And my parents didn't need to seek the advice of the elders that time. They looked at the world and the child they had been blessed to bring into that world, and the name that they would give me to them was clear: Abdul-Rehman. It translates as servant, slave of the merciful. In an Islamic tradition which fiercely asserts a radical monotheism, a unity, so to speak, God is known by God's attributes, or as the tradition calls them, the most beautiful names. Ar-Rahman, the merciful, is the most emblematic of these beautiful names. It is the name that God uses most to refer to God's self in the Quran, and the attribute that is most used to describe God in the words of the Prophet Muhammad. God in the Islamic tradition is active in creation, ever present and ever sustaining. God's attributes are woven into the fabric of creation itself. God's mercy then is never absent, always available. My parents wanted to attach their son to God the merciful. This connection, they hoped, would be my port in the storm. I'll tell you, friends, that my own sense of faith has been shaped by the name they gave me. Growing up, whenever I read references to mercy in the Quran or the sayings of the Prophet or the works of the sages, I would grow intrigued and interested. my name directed me towards mercy. It is a gift for which I can never fully repay my parents. Justice, one of my spiritual teachers told me, is only necessary in the absence of love. But isn't justice one of the divine attributes? I found myself asking. Yes, of course, the answer came. But the course of God's justice is not ours. We all have access only to human justice. And human beings are flawed, and we are weak. My friends, I offer this to you today, to myself and to you, that mercy is freedom. It unburdens us of the debilitating hate and anger which can paralyze and drive us to extremes. And make no mistake, white supremacy, toxic patriarchy, the extractive economy, anti-Black racism, the hatred and the erasure of indigenous people are born out of arrogance, power, and the subjugation of others. Those systems, those forces seek to plant hatred, anger, and division in our hearts and make us live according to the principles of hatred, anger, and division. The Quran would tell us that these things are the hallmarks of the most satanic of impulses, the impulses which erode the very humanity which made us blessed, the very humanity upon which God called the angels in heaven to bow to and to honor. The merciful ones are shown mercy by the most merciful, said the Prophet Muhammad. This saying is telling us that the strength of our so-called vertical connection with the merciful Creator is only as strong as our connection to creation. If the path that we are on is about strengthening ourselves, then it must be to strengthen ourselves to serve others in the way of mercy. It is to become mercy warriors. And this we know, as Karen Armstrong and others have told us, as we know in our own selves, is not an easy path. Yet, I don't believe God asks us for success. God asks us to do the work, to begin with mercy, to adhere to it, to fight to manifest it, struggle to proclaim it, live every day embodying it. The Islamic tradition teaches us that a God who is ever present through the means of creation is close, and that the help of the universe, the help of the divine is near. In my tradition, there's no greater aspiration than to be a means by which the divine acts and manifests in creation. Mercy then is the lens that focuses our vision and that changes everything. We fight because another world is possible, yes. We do so by trying to adhere to the very best of what our humanity, faith, and principles offer us. I want to leave you with this. As I wrote elsewhere recently, just over 2 weeks before his assassination, Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, Malcolm X, said to an audience in Tuskegee, Alabama, I believe in religion, but a religion that includes political, economic, and social action designed to eliminate injustice and racism and make a paradise here on earth while we're waiting for the other. We fight, as I said, because another world is possible and another world is certain to come. We do so by trying to adhere to the very best of our humanity, faith, and principles. We will stumble. Faced by mortality and loss, hate and oppression, we're going to falter. Challenged by our own ego, arrogance, greed, ambition, and pride, we'll do things that hurt others, and we'll do things that hurt ourselves. Those fine principles that we give sermons about and reflections about and words of inspiration about will fall at our feet and feel empty. And in such moments, I offer you one last verse of the Quran. It's a verse that I find myself, as I get older, holding on to for dear life. The Quran says, say, my servants who have harmed yourself by your own excesses, do not despair of God's mercy. God forgives all sins. God is truly the most merciful, the most forgiving. In the original Arabic, God refers to us, you and me, in this verse as Ya Ibadi. Some of you who know Arabic will know that it is a form of intimacy, like calling your beloved Habibi. It's God saying, oh, my servant, my adoring worshiper, you've fallen, you've harmed yourself, you've gone into excess. Just don't forget that mercy is never far away. Reach to me and I will embrace you. Embrace me and I will adorn you with love, so you may begin the work again. We want justice. I want to demand it unburdened by hate. We want justice, and individuals must face responsibility for their actions, but systems must be dismantled, because if they are not, they will reproduce the violence and the trauma and the oppression we are already witness to. The crisis is a political one, and it is also a spiritual one. To be in relationship with the merciful means to be merciful to ourselves. To enter into a state of expressing mercy to others is the beautiful urgency of these coming after times. And one follows the other, my friends. Knowing that we are far from perfect, knowing that we are fallen, knowing that we have stumbled, and knowing that mercy is like a rope we hold on to and it lifts us right up. It is, I believe, at the very heart of what Dr. King called the beloved community. What is a beloved community? A community that cares for the so-called least of us as it cares for the so-called greatest of us, if it is mercy. And finally, my friends, mercy is what faith gives me. It gives me the strength to begin again and again and again. It gives me the strength to look at myself in the mirror and to acknowledge how far I have to go to become the kind of human being that the Creator wants me to become. I suggest that mercy points us in the direction of our human potential, of our human freedom. It acknowledges our morality and it affirms our agency. Victory in these struggles, the day-to-day struggles of living, the struggles within our families, the struggles within our communities. Victory in these struggles is far from assured, but the struggle itself is not in vain, because it is only through the struggle that we learn and we express mercy. So for me, mercy will always be the way, the aspiration, and in fact, in the experience of mercy, we will receive our award now and in the aftertimes. Thank you very much for your patience with my poor internet connection. Ameen. May all the prayers and the wishes that have been brought into the circle, may they be answered. And may all of you who are going through difficulties find peace and blessing through those difficulties. And for those of us who are experiencing today joys, may those joys forever be amplified. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abdul. It's a joy to hear your inspiration again. As I said, our goal is spiritual growth and shared action. And as I've always believed, you can't just concentrate on spiritual growth without manifesting it in the world. The Talmudic injunction that you may not complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it, comes to mind. We won't complete this work, but we need to do it. And Susanne, now we have our final song. Over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Put myself in gallery view. To close today, we're going to sing of the after COVID times on the day we are together again. I invite you in song to join me. On the day we are together again. On the day we are together again. I will the healers who keep us alive, and the ones we love who are gone, and the ones we love who are gone. We remember their stories, we sing the songs for the ones that we love who are gone. On the day we are together again, on the day we are together again, I will pull you in close like a hoop with no end. On the day we are together again, I will pull you in close like a hoop with no end. On the day we are together again.
Thank you. Now I invite you to sing with our choir as we extinguish our chalice.
Although our chalice has been darkened, we hold the fire within our own hearts.
Today, I will leave you with a blessing based on a saying of Abraham Lincoln's. I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. My blessing is the hope that we may all get to taste those fruits of mercy. For those of you who do not wish to join a breakout room, thank you for joining us. Everyone who remains here will be asked to join a breakout room. Today's question to consider in your breakout room is, tell the story of a time mercy made an appearance in your life. If you prefer, just stay in this meeting by saying later to the request to join the breakout room. Susanne or Zach will be there to talk to and respond to questions you may have about who we are and what we do. We had a tradition here of circling around and holding each other's hands. Instead, go to gallery view and unmute yourselves. Together, let us say Namaste, which means I salute the spirit within you. Breakout rooms will begin shortly. Go in peace.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Really?
Namaste.
Bye, everybody.
RIP.
Peace. Great service, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred.
Thanks, everybody. It's gorgeous.
Lamaria, y'all.
Everybody.
Namaste.
Assalamu alaikum.